like to welcome you to the St. Charles County Council meeting for February 26, 2024. Pastor Michael Pope of the Emmanuel United Church of Christ will begin our meeting with the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Hammond. Please stand.
Dear wise and loving God, we come to you tonight in the spirit of servant leadership and in the presence and peace of the one you called and sent to be the blessed example of leadership for us all, your child and our brother, Jesus Christ. And we thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here in this chamber. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill your callings, and for sustenance and friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities and gifts. Thank you as well for the freedom to represent and serve you and others. Thank you for loving us through your boundless and gracious nature. The Holy Scriptures teach us that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace, order, and justice. Therefore, I pray for our elected and appointed leaders who gather before you in this assembled county council. I'm asking that you would graciously grant each of them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues before them, a sense of the welfare of all people, which is the supreme law of our land, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, as well as a confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony and productively, even when there are honest disagreements among us, personal peace and safety in their lives, as well as in their families' lives, and joy in their tasks. I pray for their agenda set before them tonight. Please give everyone here an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our treasured St. Charles County. It is in your most blessed name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Councilman Hammond. Please call the roll.
Councilman Swanson.
Here, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel. Councilman Elam.
Here.
Councilman Hollander. Councilman Hammond.
Here.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Here.
Councilman Baker.
Here.
All right, our first matter of business is the approval of conditional use permit, bill number 5266. Claire?
Bill number 5266, an ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 23-23 for a bed and breakfast residence to Mark Milster and Joanne Milster, property owners, and NSTAAFL LLC applicant.
Are there any questions or discussion on bill 5266? Hearing none. Claire, please read the title and call the roll.
Bill number 5266, an ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 23-23 for a bed and breakfast residence to Mark Milster and Joanne Milster, property owners, and NSTAAFL LLC applicant. Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel? Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander? Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Bill 5266 passes. Next on our agenda is public comments. This allows speakers to approach the council on any topic. However, once the topic is open for discussion, only 6 speakers are allowed to comment, alternating pro and con views. Each speaker has a limit of 3 minutes. Please remember to fill out the speaker's card so we have your name in the records. Lori, first speaker, please.
Bill number 5270, Martin Maxey.
Hello. I'm a resident of Brookfield Crossing, and I'm here to kind of ask questions too about the Hopewell Road and Dwello Road. intersection. I hear that maybe they're trying to fund a traffic light there.
Yes.
And didn't have much time to look in what it is, but I'm trying to get a privacy fence or a barrier with the Hopewell Road construction and end that's happening because they're taking down these trees. And you can see that our backyards are about 5 to 10 feet lower than what the road is. The road's on the other side of this tree line. Here's a picture of what the water company's already taken out of the tree line. And they're gonna be raising this road and building it up. And I was wondering, with the light coming through, that's gonna have people coming through that intersection at the speed limit instead of stopping and then going, so taking off. Well, this is a downhill curve right here. And like I said, that's our backyard. Once they raise up this road, there is no barrier, there is no nothing in between this and my nephew's kids playing in the backyard. And I see that the money, it's going for all these improvements. I didn't know, is there any way that we can get some type of privacy barrier? I'm not asking for an improvement. I'm just asking for something to try to put it back to where it already is, which has this tree line. And I didn't know if they're anywhere in that budget for something like that. Because like I said, if it is gonna be a stoplight going through there, there will be people coming through this intersection wanting to make that light, and they're gonna be hitting this curve. I mean, it's a concern for me. Like I said, this is my backyard, and this is off of my deck, and you can see how close I am to this. And my 4- and 2-year-old like to play in the pool and everything in the backyard, so if we could consider something like that, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Lori?
Regarding several issues, elections, miscellaneous, would be Arnie Dienoff.
Good evening, members of council. My name is Arnie A.C. Dienoff, County Public Advocate. And the first thing I'd like to start out by saying, Mr. Elam, on KMOX Radio, you were the guest host a couple weeks ago, and I would encourage residents of our county and the entire region to listen to that radio broadcast. You antiquated and portrayed a safari hunting in Africa, contemplating or comparison to a target hunting on humans in St. Louis City. And you said that people in St. Louis City are targeting, for target practice, killing other human beings. And I took that to heart, exactly how you said it, what you portrayed on KMOX over the radio to several states around Missouri, including Missouri in the metropolitan area. And I think you owe the region an apology. I was shocked at what you had said. So I'd like to start out tonight by making an announcement. I will be filing a declaration of candidacy and announcing my candidacy for the 3rd Congressional United States congressional seat that goes from St. Charles County all the way to Cole
Mr.
County.
Dienoff?
Yes.
I was just advised, we don't have it, you're not allowed to do political candidacy announcements during your public comments. So please follow
Well,
our
I
chamber
disagree,
rules.
but we'll follow that
Okay.
up at a later time.
Thank you, sir.
But and could you please put another
Yeah, we'll
20,
allow you to
30
speak for another
seconds
10
on that?
seconds.
Okay. Public offices for county districts 2, 4, and 6 will be open for filing tomorrow at our county election authority, 397 Turner Boulevard in St. Peters, off of Missouri Highway 79. State representative vacancies are open in St. Charles County along the river to Midwers Mall Drive from 70 going south all the way to the St. Peters Cottleville area. And I would ask that residents file for those positions. On the consent agenda, professional services for Dietrich Road Bridge replacement, $145,000. I asked that we start hiring 2 or 3 qualified engineers on staff. We're going to save tons and tons of money. Professional staff for Howell Road, $149,000. Ask that you hire staff to do that in-house. Josephville Road, $130,000. Again, we can do that in-house. Professional services, Josephville Road, Phase 2, $380,000. Let's hire an in-house engineer. New Melly Lakes Maintenance Electric, Extreme Electrical. There's an ethics issue. That person served on a board and commission, and I don't think they've been out of office for more than the allotted time according to our codified code, and you're giving him a contract, Caleb Hunter, for $71,300. That's concerning. I-70 North Outer Road, $1.6 million for engineering. And finally, Gateway Greenlight Phase 6 fiber expansion in the amount of $968,000.
Thank you, Mr. Dino.
Where is the return on investment? We
Thank
keep
you very much
wasting
for your
our
comments, sir.
taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Lori?
The final speaker.
Final speaker. All right. Thank you for your comments and all. Next on our agenda is the oral report for our county executive. Mr. Ellman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Steve Ellman here to give the annual report, which is required by our county charter, that once a year I make this report. It's just as I guess it's somewhat similar to the president doing a state of the nation, and the governor does a state of the state. And I'm trying to do a state of the county. We usually do it after all of our numbers are in, which is usually late January, early February, and we put something together. And I'm going to go ahead and use this slide presentation. I have made this presentation once already to the Greater St. Charles Chamber, and it was well received. If any of you would like to use this presentation to make presentations in your own district, please feel free to use it. Can I have the first slide, please? Okay. I guess I got the right one. Okay, St. Charles County, obviously, stating the obvious, it's a great place to live. Been saying for years, safe neighborhoods and good schools is why people have moved here. It's why they will continue. Having great parks is a real plus too. Looking at some of the big wins and ongoing challenges for the county. And of course, the senior property tax freeze. I was in Jefferson City 3 weeks ago testifying for a bill that will clarify some of those issues that were so confusing to us. But as you know, the bill that we did pass calls for the people to be able to file an application starting in March 1st. And we're all is moving forward. I think we have one more meeting on that on Wednesday, and then on Friday. That will be available online, and we'll be doing some press release probably on Thursday to let people know that they can come online, they can get that application. They have to be 62. Of course, they have to have give us some sort of proof of ownership, and then that'll be they'll renew that every year simply by a simple form that says nothing has changed. And again, it applies to all taxing districts. And we're just hopeful that before the legislature adjourns, that they'll go ahead and clarify some of these things. And the intent on all the bills right now is to clarify them in a way that I don't think we'll even have to amend our bill. But if it's not, we will. And we're going to go ahead with this. And there's a lot of people waiting to see what happens. And I'm glad we're not. I think it's good that we're going forward. And if we have to make some changes in midstream, we'll do that. Wentzville Curve, this is good news, bad news, okay? The bad news is that they were going to start construction on it this year, and that would have been good. And it's, of course, bad that they're not, but the reason they are not is because if they started construction on that railroad bridge, they started it in the next few months, it would all be torn up for 2 years, okay? And then about the same time that they were finishing that, they'd tear it up again to do the third lane on I-70. So what they've said is they're going to delay it about a year, and then they're going to do everything at once. We'll get the third lane, we'll get we're also going to get a third lane on I-64. You know, they have that backup every day. They're going to do that. They're going to redo the whole intersection. Remember, we gave them money, we lent them money to do the design on that. So they're going to do the I-64 third lane, the intersection, the curve itself, and then most importantly, they're going to do 3 lanes, at least out to Forestell and also out to Warrenton. If they did just the bridge right now, you'd have, instead of 2 lanes going under the bridge, you'd have 4. And then you'd go about 2,000 yards, and you'd go back down to 2 lanes. So if we just do the bridge, it's all we'll do is move the problem a couple thousand yards down the road. All right, so I think in the overall picture, it's good news. But again, you won't see that bridge started quite as quickly as we had hoped. And of course, that whole I-70 expansion, we've been waiting for the legislature to provide some money and for MoDOT to move forward, and they are. And I think it's going to be a tremendous economic development boost for St. Charles County and for the whole state of Missouri, but especially for us. I mean, with all the logistics businesses that have come here in the last 10 years or so, I was dreading the day when we would hear a story about one of them not wanting to come here because of that delay on I-70. So we're going to be getting rid of that. I think that's great for economic development. We've spent a lot of money out in Mr. Swanson's district, and that makes up for the years in the past when, 30 years ago, we were spending a lot in St. Charles, and 25 years ago, we were spending a lot in St. Peter's, and then we spent a lot in O'Fallon and Lake St. Louis. And that's where the growth is, so that's where a lot of the money's going to be spent. And you can see the whole David Hochul Parkway. You can see the parts that are finished, I guess, are in red. And the green, eventually that will go all the way around and connect into 61 and 64, both ends. It'll be like a circumferential highway. But anyway, that's long-range plan for that. Fighting crime, the police department, continuing to do the criminal interdiction task force, continuing to drive downtown drive crime down after that spike we saw a few years ago. This gives you some idea of just what a great job our police departments have done. I believe our chief has done a great job leading that, but everybody has been involved, and you can see the thefts from 2019 to 20. You can see what's happened there, and then on items stolen, we have an improvement as well. There's the improvement.
Oh, there we go.
You can see from 2019, then 20 is down 15%, 2021 is 26%, 4% in the last year. And items stolen, I think the numbers are even better. So let me remind everybody that 90% of the 90% of the time that cars are stolen in this county, they're unlocked. So everybody can help drive those numbers down if they just lock their car. There's the task force stats. You can see from February 21 to December 23. Again, we're at this point, we're about 66% of inmates in the county jail are from outside St. Charles County. And I think that number is higher than for most crimes. So especially when it comes to stolen vehicles, I think we're seeing a lot of people come from out of town. Crime rates, again, I think our police department, all the police departments in the county can be very proud of this. You can see we've gone from 17 to 16 to 14. And St. Louis County's gone down a little bit, but they were twice as high to begin with. St. Louis City, again, has gone down a little bit, although there's an interesting article in the Business Journal this week that questions whether the numbers they're using are even accurate. We'll hope to find out more about that. Franklin County, Jefferson, Lincoln, they're also doing well, but I think we're leading the pack, and congratulations to our law enforcement people for that. Judicial Circuit felony cases filed. You can see, again, let's see, we're the blue, and back in 2018, before things started going crazy, St. Louis filed more cases than we did. And our cases remained about the same, while the St. Louis prosecuting attorney just ignored what was going on, and you can see how their cases fell. They're not falling anymore, and I'm sure if we get some updated numbers, we'd find out Gabe Gore is actually moving that number forward. But you can see that, and part of this, of course, is from the car thefts and everything, but the number of felony cases filed here has gone up. And again, I'd like to see that, I like to see it not have to go up, but as long as people are stealing, we'll be filing the cases. And I think Joe McCullough's done a great job since he's taken over, and congratulations to him and his people as well. Emergency communications, 911. We've read a lot about problems in the city of St. Louis, finding people to work. We've had the same problems, and it's been a struggle. But what I'm proud of is that in spite of the fact that it's been much more difficult than in the past, we've kept all of our numbers where they were before. Doesn't take any longer. Average answering time is 3.5 seconds. And 98.79 are answered within 10 seconds. So once again, Jeff Smith and that whole department out there is one of the most important things that we do for folks, and I think they're doing a great job. County employment, you can see we're battling back, but we still got a problem. And yes, we would love to hire some engineers for our highway department, but we can't find any. John went to 3 different engineering schools in the last couple months trying to recruit folks. So if you know any young engineers looking for a job, we're looking to hire. The economy, obviously, our numbers are great. Unemployment rates are the lowest in the region. This, of course, is always interesting. You can see not only is our population growing, but the jobs are growing. In St. Louis City, the population's declining and the jobs are about the same. St. Louis County's declining somewhat, but still growing in jobs. Franklin and Warren, though, look at that. I mean, their absolute numbers aren't as good as ours. But they're experiencing the same kind of growth in jobs, and I think that's encouraging that not only us but others in the region are experiencing some success. This is just our share of the regional growth, our share of the job growth. Well, you can see it's a big chunk. Our share of the population growth is even bigger. Like I've been saying for years, I think all this good news will continue for some time in St. Charles County, but it won't last forever. And I certainly hope the region can get its act together. If it doesn't, eventually everybody over there who wants to move out here will do that, and then we'll be no growth too. So again, our folks are doing, the private sector in St. Charles County is doing a tremendous job. We want to continue to do everything we can to make their job easy. And I think also we really want to do anything we can to get the region going. This is commercial development, 7.2 million square feet. Commercial development increased 12% over 2022. We got the National Equestrian Center in Lake St. Louis. It's our 19th active park. We got 3 additional parks still in reserve. I think the Equestrian Center, there's a lot of opportunities to do more there than has been done in the past. If you've been out there to see the facility, there's a lot of other things we can do there, a lot of other services we can provide for our residents. And we'll be working on that the next year. Oglesby Park, of course, opened a little more than a year ago. We finally had a picture with green grass. Okay, so we got green grass out there now, and I think it's a great addition to our park, and it's a great place to put it, given all the growth that's taking place in the Wentzville area. Hideaway Harbor, again, is just another of our parks that a lot of people don't know about. It's this view here. It's one of the most scenic places in the county. A lot of people, I think, don't really realize that. But Kinetic Park, obviously, we're making a lot of improvements there. That as you all know, a new climbing structure, pickleball courts. I don't know if pickleball there is going to be as popular as it is down the road here, but I hear you got to wait several weeks maybe to get a pickleball court at Chicken and Pickle. It's anyway, inclusive destination play area, reserve shelters, New Melly Lakes. Again, we'll be making improvements at New Melly Lakes and Veterans Tribute Park. And once again, I just put these up here because there's a lot of people still haven't discovered our parks. We have a lot of people that have. I think they enjoy it, and our numbers are way up. But I wish there was some way, and we'll keep looking for ways to try to encourage people to go and visit these parks that we've already opened. How do we stack up? I've told this story before. I guess I'll maybe tell it one more time. 18 years ago when I came here, I asked our park director, how many acres do we need to have in our park system so we'll have the same ratio of acres to people as St. Louis County? And she told me, I forget what it was. I think it might have been 1,000 acres or something. I said, okay, that's our goal. Well, as you can see, we've passed 1,000 acres. Problem is, we've got 40,000 more people since she made that calculation. So we still got a little ways to go, but hopefully we will be able to get to that point where we have the same number of acres per people as St. Louis County. The Del Mar Divide, I've brought this to you every year now, I think for about 8 years. And again, we all know about how the gigantic difference between North St. Louis City and the Central West End. And that sort of trend has continued into St. Louis County, and I've been interested to see and hope that it doesn't continue out here. And based on the numbers from the last 2 years, it's not continuing out here. If you look at the city down there on the bottom, you can still see 10 times. The median home in Central West End is 10 times the median home north of Del Mar. When you go out to St. Louis County, it's about, well, what is it, 113 to 185. It's what, 60%. It's still not a healthy situation, and not something I would want us to have. But when you extend that same line into St. Charles County, you can see the price per square foot is almost identical. And you can explain the differences very easily because the bottom number there, those homes are newer, okay? So same way, you look at, and of course, I think this is one of the things we got going for us in our county is we don't have all of our rich people living in one part of the county and all of our poor people living in another. we've got 5 major cities. All of them have some very nice neighborhoods, and all of them have some low-income neighborhoods. So, again, if you look at St. Louis County, I think you're going to find some cities doing very, very well and others not. If you look at our cities over the last, 5 years? If you can look at the growth and the value of the property, and you can see it's pretty uniform. I mean, some are a little better than others, but none are out of line, really. School performance, I mentioned this already last year. I'm very proud of Zumwalt and Howell. You know, Ladue, Clayton, Kirkwood, Webster Groves, those are all small districts, basically small districts where they're within a particular city and they tend to be homogeneous and they've got some history and whatever. It's tough to compete against those when you got giant districts like Rockwood or Parkway or Zumwalt or Howell. But in the past, I mean, you usually had those top 4 were always ahead of us. But then you'd have Rockwood and Parkway until last year. And now Zumwalt and Howell have moved ahead of Rockwood and Parkway. I think that's a tremendous accomplishment for those districts. And I think some of it is because they stayed open during COVID, didn't close down like the St. Louis districts did. But you can see all of our districts are doing well, but Zumwalt and Howell especially, they've taken a big step, and I'm very proud of that fact. Again, there's the performance scores on the various districts, and the ones in I'm trying to think. I guess the ones in blue. Oh no, I see. The ones in green are the ones who've increased. So it looks like most of ours have stayed the same or decreased slightly. But marijuana tax, of course, we're being sued right now. Or well, I shouldn't say that. We weren't sued. St. Louis County was sued, and we've intervened in the lawsuit. As you recall, there was some dispute from the very beginning as to whether we could do a tax in addition to the cities. I think our county councilor, Rory, did a tremendous job doing some research on that. I think his position is going to prevail in court, but there's always the unexpected, and so we wanted to make sure we were in the courthouse when the decision was made, so we intervened. And I don't know, Rory, is that coming up anytime soon for argument?
Yeah, we're going to be filing our response to their motion for summary judgment at the end of this week.
Okay, good.
Hey, Steve, real quick on that. So the money that's come in so far, what are we doing with that money?
Put it in a bank.
I was curious about that.
It's not appropriate.
I was assuming we wouldn't be able to spend it, so I was like, well, what are we doing with that in the meantime?
We didn't know what we were going to collect. We didn't want to bet on the income.
Bob, talking to the mic.
So because we didn't really know what to expect from this tax, we didn't really do anything with it in the '24 budget. So it's in the general fund as revenue, but nothing really obligated against it at this point.
Thanks.
Okay. Personal property tax, already talked about this a little bit. Again, you know, we're going to have our issue on the ballot to renew the 1/4 capital improvements tax, which we've had since '91. The message is number one, there's no tax increase. Number two, this is not a property tax. Number three, we've had it since '91. Number four, we're not growing government. We just need more space to provide the same services we've provided because we got more people. Best example is the pet adoption center. We're just out of space. You know, we got to build another one somewhere. So anyway, and again, I hope people are upset about their property taxes, and I'm not sure how many times we got to tell them, but I just hope they appreciate the fact that that increase in property taxes that they had to pay, none of it went to us. you all were wise enough to go ahead and roll our rate back. So we got the same amount of tax on personal property this year as we did the year before, and we'll get the same amount this next year. I still think that was a great thing that you all did. I wish more had done it. I just hope that when people get upset about it, they understand at least that we tried to help. 14th consecutive year, we're always number 1 or number 2 in healthiest counties. Obviously our health department they do what they can do, but I think basically it's just people in our county being responsible and taking good care of themselves and their children. And as long as they do that, we're going to be in good shape. And as long as you all continue to do the wise things that you've done the last year, I think the county's going to be in good shape. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Steve,
Mr. Baker?
you mentioned the pet adoption center. Is
Yeah.
there anything what we can do with the equestrian center? Is there any buildings there that could possibly use for a pet adoption center? Since there's property we owned,
That's a good question.
is that something we could look into maybe?
We've had some discussions about that with the acreage that's there of perhaps doing something that way, but we'd like to see something honestly in the western end of the county for pet adoption, since we have our present location eastern part of the county.
Is that western in your opinion?
It's central,
Southwestern.
west central maybe. It's certainly farther west than Mid-Rivers Mall Drive.
I agree. Okay.
So, that's something that we have had some discussion about, but we're still in the evaluation stage with the NEC and, how that's going to look and feel. But there could be some space there. We've looked at a number of areas around the county as a possible source of locating the next pet adoption center, but money's the big thing right now. Capital projects are strained because, as county executive said, our demand for additional services because of our population growth means we need other facilities in different parts of the county. One other thing I'd like to mention, Councilman Elam, you were asking about the marijuana tax. We were trying to be conservative about that because we didn't know. One thing that we did find out is that when we got the final sales tax numbers for 2023, we had no increase in our sales tax revenues in 2023. We wound up dead even with 2022. So it's probably a good thing we didn't obligate that money anywhere.
And as far as the NEC out there, we've got, I don't know how many square feet under roof for stabling the horses, but none of it is heated, right? I mean, if any of that were to be used for pet adoption, I would think you, John, you'd have to go ahead and do quite a bit of work on it, right?
Yeah, and the flooring it's a dirt floor, so they are simple stalls and for stabling of horses. The arenas themselves are, much bigger buildings, but they're used for shows. They have the nicer footing, and it's a great facility. But it is something that, as Bob mentioned, that we thought about if the residents of St. Charles County would extend the capital improvement tax, that would be one of the projects that we'd want to see built. And whether the NEC site is the right location or not is yet to be determined.
And we got money we want to spend on the jail too, but it's not to make a nicer jail. It's to make a safer
Good.
jail and to make a bigger jail. Because again, with the more people who come here, the more criminal activity we're going to have. And Mr. Hammond is.
I was just going to say, in general, if somebody that owns horses, dogs and horses really don't get along in general.
I think we separate them, along with the cats.
Point well taken. Any other questions?
Is there any movement on Senator Cristofanelli's bill about charging these other municipalities for incarcerating?
I doubt it.
Okay.
I doubt it. First of all, I don't, my only problem with it is I don't think you can pass a law that just applies to St. Louis City and County. You'd have to apply it so everybody. I mean, we may have people in the Lincoln County Jail. We may have people in Warren County Jail. I don't know, but if you're gonna do that, that's fine. But I think you need to do it for everybody, and not just single out St. Louis City and County, because it would benefit us. And the other thing too is, again, you all know this, and I've talked about it other reports about, what was it, 3 years ago when the COVID came and they closed down, and their sales tax revenue went down 9%, and the same year ours went up 5%. Because everybody over there that they couldn't go to a restaurant, guess what? They came out here, went to our restaurants, went to our shopping centers, and quite frankly, I was glad to see them come. I hope they continue to come. But at the same time, if you have more people generally, you might have a few more criminals amongst them. So it's kind of taking the bitter with the sweet. If we could somehow get rid of the bitter, I would, but I'm not ready to put a drawbridge across the river and raise it every night. So, thank you.
No other questions? All right, that brings us to the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
I would like to pull the addendum for Westmeyer Road improvements, please.
All right, so do I have a second on that?
Second.
All right, that item all in favor?
All right.
Opposed? All right, with that, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
So moved?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that has passed. Mr. Baker, the item removed was Highway Addendum Number 1, Westmeyer Road improvements.
I'm just curious, I understand that we're paying $50,000 because of a high-pressure gas main, and I'm just curious, did we not know about the high-pressure gas main when the design was started? Is there someone that could speak on that? I mean, it seems to me that somebody should have known about that.
I can speak on that issue. Chris Bostic, I'm a project manager with the Highway Department. So we knew there was a gas main there. We did not know when the project started that it was actually the main feed of Ameren gas into the city of Wentzville. So we went through our usual process of developing a conceptual plan, sent it out to utilities. Nobody at Ameren flagged it as an issue, so we kept moving forward to the preliminary plan phase, at which time someone said, well, you have a lot of conflicts here, and these are going to be expensive ones. So, I mean, we did not find out when we would have liked to.
That's disappointing, I feel. I mean, I think we should have done a better job of understanding what the utilities are. And I mean, a high-pressure gas main should be pretty clear from the dig right or whomever is locating utilities. Did they not locate this?
It was located, yes. I do not recall, like from the dig right, if it was flagged as anything other than just a natural gas main, not the size or pressure and significance of it.
All right.
All right, with that, I need a motion to approve that item.
Tim? Are you good with it?
Well, I mean, it doesn't sound like we have a choice, but we need to avoid the gas main. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we need to approve it, but I just think we dropped the ball on this one, so.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the consent agenda is finished. Next on the agenda is bills for final passage, beginning with bill number 5267. Claire, please read the title.
Bill number 5267, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land currently located at 2153 Wilmer Road from A Agricultural District to CO Office District per application RZ 23-17, requested by Mike Hebert Insurance Agency.
Are there any questions on bill number 5267?
Just make a note that it's Mike Hebert.
Hebert, sorry.
The famous Mike Hebert.
There we go.
Make
All
a
right.
motion to approve.
I'll read the title and
Yeah,
call
let's
the roll.
go.
Oh, okay.
Bill number 5267, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land currently located at 2153 Wilmer Road from A Agricultural District to CO Office District per application RZ 23-17, requested by Mike Hebert Insurance Agency. Councilman Brazel, Councilman Elam,
Yes.
Councilman Hollander, Councilman Hammond,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman Swanson.
Yes, ma'am. Bill number 5267 passes. Next is bill 5268. Claire?
Bill number 5268, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from R1E Single Family Residential District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District per application RZ 23-18.
Are there any questions or discussions on Bill 5268? Hearing none, Claire, please read the title and call the roll.
Bill number 5268, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from R1E Single Family Residential District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District per application RZ 23-18. Councilman Elam.
Yes.
Councilman Hollander. Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman Swanson.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel.
Bill number 5268 passes. Next on the agenda is bills for introduction, beginning with bill number 5270.
We have one more for
one
final
more?
passage, yeah.
5269.
Oh, 5269. I apologize.
Bill number 5269, an ordinance authorizing execution of an intergovernmental agreement relating to the state and local cybersecurity grant program between St. Charles County and the Missouri Department of Public Safety.
Are there any questions or comments regarding bill number 5269? Hearing none. Claire?
Bill number 5269, an ordinance authorizing execution of an intergovernmental agreement relating to the state and local cybersecurity grant program between St. Charles County and the Missouri Department of Public Safety. Councilman Hollander, Councilman Hammond,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman Swanson,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel, Councilman Elam.
Yes.
All right, that passes. 5269. Next on the agenda is bills for introduction, beginning with bill number 5270.
Bill number 5270, requested by Amanda Brower, sponsored by Joe Brazel. An ordinance approving an agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for preliminary and construction engineering funding for improvements needed to reduce congestion on the improvement of Route N at the intersection of Route N at Hopewell Road, Duello Road.
All right, are there any questions or comments regarding bill 5270?
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Baker?
Yeah, Mr. Maxey came and spoke about the fence, and I know there's been some discussion with staff, and I think the comment was that we don't normally do that, but it's not unusual for governmental agencies to build sound walls. I mean, I see MoDOT doing it all the time, and this is basically a screen wall. I mean, if I lived where he lived and I had those nice trees, and I'm not talking just specifically about Mr. Maxey, but that entire stretch, they're wiping out all their trees, and I think to ask for a fence or some type of landscaping buffer is not an unreasonable ask. So that's all I want to say about that.
All right, any other questions, Mr.
No,
Hammond?
I also agree. I don't think it's fair to take those trees out and just, especially on a corner there where cars could come flying into his yard. We should provide some kind of barrier there.
I mean, I've been there, and just the thought of what they're doing and the dangers presented for some of the, I'm sure a fence is going to stop a car if it's going fast, but it's going to make the guy know that he's hit a fence, so, as opposed to a child sitting in the backyard. So I really think this body needs to take a look at that, and I'm fairly certain, I think Councilman Brazel would be on board with the same opinion, but that's my thoughts.
Okay. County Executive.
Yeah, let me just, just caution you that, the sound walls, you're absolutely right, MoDOT does sound walls. John, correct me if I'm wrong, though, it's based upon decibel, it's based upon sound, okay?
Yeah,
And it's based upon sound, and my point is, if you start doing it based upon vision, okay, you may be opening up a can of worms. Because every project like this is going to have a certain number of people that feel like they'd rather, keep those trees or keep whatever. Do we know how close these trees are to the actual right-of-way line?
Well, I think the key about the trees, that these are trees in the public right-of-way. So these are public trees. These are not trees on the private homeowner's property. So this really gets down to, can we, as a county, do we want to get in the position that if someone doesn't like the change in the visual scenery behind their home, because we make improvements on our property, do we, as a county, think we should spend taxpayers' money to fix that problem?
Do we know, John, do we know where exactly the line is? I mean, is it possible that it could keep some of those trees? Is it possible it's far enough away that MoDOT could actually, for the time being, until they make that road even wider, that they could keep some of it?
This is along the back of Dwello Road, and, yeah, design plans have been done. The utility work has started, and, yeah, the trees behind these couple homes that the homeowners that spoke are all within the right of way, and most likely all will be.
But they're gonna have to go because of the,
road improvement and
And because of the,
sidewalk improvement and everything else associated with the project.
okay, well, double check that.
But I want to remind you, we just spent $50,000 on a change order, and then $50,000 to help these citizens is not a big ask.
All right. Mr. Elman?
So it's my understanding from the gentleman's pictures that those, that's okay, Elman, Elam, it's close spelling. It's my understanding those trees came out from Missouri American. So when Missouri American was putting in the new
Public
utility
water.
lines, right. So when they're putting that in, that's where they came out. I think what the issue, and I agree with Mr. Elman's point and Mr. Greifsel on where you're going, I think the difference on this one might be, and I don't know if we can find, it's Amanda's bailiwick here, so not trying to step into traffic world, but if you're going to raise a road to where it is a straight drop-off into their house and their backyard from there, I would think there would be a safety argument that you could make at that point, not just a beauty argument, where if the road is going to be raised at a higher elevation, where it's going to take you straight off into a residential neighborhood. I haven't been down that road, and I have no idea how high they're actually talking about and what that looks like to actually do that, but I would assume there would be some sort of safety area that we would be able to make that argument, depending on what it looks like, John.
Mr. Gresham?
Chris Bostic is the project engineer on the Dwello Road project and is more familiar with the design than probably anyone else in the room. But to answer Councilman Elam's question is that, well, the yards are already sitting below the roadway. And if there was a drop off of significant, there would need to be guardrail installed, and that would be part of the project. But the guardrail is not going to provide that visual barrier, as the gentleman has mentioned, to the proposed gas station that was across the street. That was really
Right.
the screening that was really desired.
I believe the argument that he was making, though, was a safety argument about the kids playing in the backyard. So a guardrail would accomplish the same safety.
And Chris can tell us if there was
But there are
there's
traffic
actually
rated
one spot, but is
fences
there-
too.
Can you come up and answer maybe some questions about the design in that particular area?
You're a popular guy tonight.
So, yes. What we're adding on that side of the road is curb and gutter as the road's widened. And then there is a shared use path there. It's about 8 feet wide. And then on top of that is the retaining wall. We are installing a retaining wall. It's not very tall. Where that gentleman's property is, as you go farther to the north, it gets a little bit taller. It's only, it basically starts out at dirt grade up to maybe about 2 feet tall along his property. So this was not a location that, in our opinion, justified the installation of a guardrail.
Mr. Hammond?
Yeah, I was just gonna, you stole my thunder. 'Cause
Sorry, man.
It was more a concern of safety, and I think they should put in a guardrail there to prevent somebody from going in, coming around that corner too fast and going off in his yard. It's close, it almost looks like they could hit his house, it's so close, so I think definitely.
But you can also accomplish it with a traffic rated fence. I mean, with fence that can, with concrete bollards, and also, it also provides not only a safety aspect, but it also provides a visual aspect, which, I mean, a guardrail, it'll help the safety part, but if,
All right, with that, Mr. Maxey, I would encourage you to reach out to your county councilman, Joe Brazel, and work with him. This is just bills for introduction. We're not passing anything tonight, so, thank you. Any other questions or comments on
Mr.
Bill
Chairman?
number 5270? Oh, Mr. Elam?
Just a general observation.
I'm confusing you two. Mr. Elman?
Just a general observation. I don't know how we'd enforce it, but I wish we could pass an ordinance that made everybody, before you buy your house, you gotta look at the plat map. And before you buy your house, you gotta look at the zoning map. And what we have is a lot of people come in here, and I sympathize, because, a lot of times they didn't know that those trees out there weren't actually on their property, they were on the right-of-way. And a lot of times they, claim they didn't know that a road was gonna be, if you had a stub, if there's a stub there, that means that road's gonna go through someday. And if your residential property is right up against a commercial property, there may be a filling station there someday. And of course, when people, a lot of times they buy and don't know those things, and I don't know how we can educate them. And real estate people, it's not in their interest to tell them all these things, but that's just one of the real unfortunate things here. And people, if they would check those things before they buy, they would be better off.
All right. Not at this point, sorry. With that, next bill is 5271 for introduction.
Bill number 5271, requested by Amanda Brower, sponsored by Mike Elam. An ordinance approving execution of a congestion mitigation and air quality agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission to coordinate the participation of St. Charles County in the cost of the commission's public improvement for automated traffic signal performance modules, signal optimizations on the following routes: Feisey Road, Town Square Avenue, Technology Drive, and Hanley Road.
Are there any questions or comments on bill number 5271? Hearing none, next bill is 5272.
Bill number 5272, requested by Amanda Brower, sponsored by Nancy Schneider and Terry Hollander. An ordinance amending the approving agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for improvements needed to reduce congestion on I-70 by constructing a north outer road extension and relocation of ramps from Route 94 to Zumbell Road.
Are there any questions or comments regarding bill number 5272? Hearing none, the next bill is 5273. Lori?
Bill number 5273, requested by Kurt Barr, sponsored by Terry Hollander. An ordinance authorizing execution of documents for receipt of funds in the amount of $56,347.37 from the Secretary of State for a grant awarded to the Election Authority for an election efficiency grant to assist with election activities, systems, and equipment maintenance, maintaining voter lists and polling place accessibility, and further amending Ordinance 23-104 by providing supplemental appropriations to the Election Services Fund budget.
Are there any questions or comments regarding bill 5273? Hearing none, next bill is 5274. Lori?
Bill number 5274, requested by Sarah Evers, sponsored by Terry Hollander. An ordinance authorizing the county executive or his designee to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services regarding access to the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services reportable disease management systems.
Are there any questions or comments regarding bill 5274? Hearing none, the next bill is 5275.
Bill number 5275, requested by Sarah Evers, sponsored by Terry Hollander. An ordinance authorizing the county executive or his designee to execute a program services contract for local public health agency infrastructure with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services and acceptance of the grant provided thereunder.
Are there any questions or comments regarding bill 5275? Mr. Baker?
Yes. Is there someone here that can speak about this ordinance?
I would tell you what I know about it.
Okay.
This is a new contract, which is very similar to the one we've had for years and years. And for the next meeting, I will tell you if there's any small differences. But it's my understanding, Bob, we're talking about that. I think there's somehow, something's different. They needed us to sign a new contract, very similar to the one we already have.
Well, this is a 5-year contract. The term on this agreement is a 5-year contract, and it's largely for staff support, expenses, training, but it spans a 5-year period of time.
Can I
But
read
it's
part
similar,
of the
it's similar to the one we had in effect.
Can I read part of the contract of deliverables and outcomes? Section 3.1.6, quote, it says, improve equity and organizational competencies addressing leadership, governance, and strategic planning. Is this, does this acceptance of this grant require us to abide by diversity, equity, inclusion laws that it's going to be pushed on us?
I don't think Governor Parsons is into that sort of thing, so,
Yeah,
no, I don't
it's
think it
in the
does.
contract.
Equity's, the word by itself's been around a long time.
If
And
that's fine.
you're right to ask the question.
If that's what it is.
But I
that's fine.
don't think it refers to the DEI equity.
But
And
I
we can ask the department to
Please.
clarify that if you
Because I
want.
sent a letter to the rest of the council, a letter that was written by, I think it was one of the, I can't find it right now, but a letter written by somebody that works there that was pushing the JEDI acronym, which if anyone knows what that means, that's Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. So I just want to make sure that if we agree to this contract, that we're not, I mean, we need to hire the best.
No, I understand. Let
Mr.
Rory-
O'Sullivan?
Mr. Chairman, can Rory
Mr. O'Sullivan?
respond?
I believe that in this context, it's referring to disability and age. That's what they're talking about when it comes to equity, so
You sure about that, or you think?
that's my understanding as I sit here today, sir.
We'll compare it to the language that's in the old contract.
Thank
If
you.
if it's significantly different, then you may have a point.
Thank you.
And Mr. Baker, since this is just billed for introduction,
Yeah.
we have time to
We
go
have
through
time,
all
I
of
just
that.
want to, give them some time to.
That's fine.
Any other questions? All right, that brings us to the last bill for introduction, Bill 5276. Lori?
Bill 5276, requested by Steve Ellman, sponsored by Terry Hollander. An ordinance amending the 2024 budget adopted as ordinance 23-104 by providing supplemental revenues of $125,000 and appropriations of $29,000 to the Special Revenue Fund 254, Family Services and Justice.
All right, any questions? All right, that concludes bills for introductions. Are there any announcements or miscellaneous?
I congratulate Mr. Swanson on running his first meeting
Yay.
on the county council. Well done.
Good job.
And thank you for all of our Boy Scouts showing up tonight to see one of our quicker meetings with not as many contested.
Yeah, you guys picked a great night to
Yeah.
come. It was much quieter than it normally is.
So thank you very much. With that, that concludes our meeting. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
It's all good. Both guys all listen.
I don't know how I missed that one. It's on the bottom of the page. Gotta get better glasses.